I've been talking recently about the Ten Commandments, as well as the two commands Jesus singles out as the greatest commandments. Now I want to talk about some of the other laws in the Old Testament and ask a really important question. What does the law, as in the law of the Old Testament, have to do with us in the Christian church? Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas. And this is your daily devotional for Thursday, July 24th, 2025. I grew up in the church being taught from a young age that the law of the Old Testament no longer applies to us. The perhaps unintentional message was the law is unimportant. But as my faith matured, I found it's not quite as simple as that. Turns out the law is important. Not just in the same way it was important in ancient Israel. To get at the tension we Christians experience, let me read two contrasting passages from the New Testament about the law, one from the Gospel of Matthew and one from Paul's letter to the Galatians. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is completed. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." On the other hand, the Apostle Paul in several of his letters seems to say we are free from the law. For example, in Galatians he says, "We ourselves are Jews by birth and not Gentile sinners. Yet we know that a person is justified not by the works of the law, but through faith in Jesus Christ. And we have come to believe in Christ Jesus so that we might be justified by faith in Christ and not by doing works of the law, because no one will be justified by the works of the law." So these two representative passages highlight the tension we Christians live in with respect to the law. On the one hand, Jesus upholds the law, while on the other, Paul tells us that we cannot find our justification before God by following the law. So what gives? Which is it? Are we bound to the law, or are we free from the law? The answer is yes. We are both bound to the law, and yet we are free from it. Okay, that sounds like a bunch of theological gibberish, right? Well, maybe it is, but the simple fact is that we have a dilemma posed by the apparent difference between what Jesus and Paul teach about the law. Before we sort this out in the days ahead, let's simply come to terms with the dilemma itself. Dilemmas abound in Christian faith. They present us with tensions between two or more apparently irreconcilable truths. Many people cannot stand to live with such tensions. They cannot abide dilemmas. For them, the answer is to resolve the tension on one side or the other of the apparent dilemma. But my observation is that whenever we do that, we distort the gospel, we flatten it. Worse still, we stray from the truth. One of the definitions of heresy is missing the mark. It's like shooting an arrow at a target and coming close, but missing the bullseye. Most heresies in the history of the church have arisen because one group or another has tried to resolve tensions in the faith on one side or the other. Leaving out one of the polarities in the dilemma means letting go of a portion of the truth. And when we let go of a portion of the truth, the result is usually a half-truth. In theology, that's exactly what a heresy is. So we have this tension in the Christian faith between being either bound to the law or being free from it. Maybe a better way to say it is the tension is not an either-or question. better to envision it as being both bound to the law and free from it at the same time. But if it still sounds like theological gobbledygook, stay with me in the days ahead, and let's see if we can unravel the mystery just a little bit. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.